Hey everybody, welcome back to another Flea Market Finds episode. This is a pick that was off of either Craigslist or Marketplace. The description, I think it was a Craigslist pick. The description was basically for this big steel plate right here. And it was described as a machinist plate. And the asking price was 20 bucks. And then I looked at the individual's other listings. And he had this arbor press listed for 20 bucks also. So I immediately contacted him, asking him if he had any other machinist items, and he replied by saying that he had he had some other stuff. So we had agreed that I would buy these two items and look at the third item he had advertised, which is under this plate. I'll show you in a minute. And while I was there, he would show me what else he had, and we'd go from there. Ended up being a pretty nice pick. So let's dive right in. So upon arriving there, I immediately went over to the workbench he had in his workshop, and it turns out he was a home hobbyist type of machinist. And this is the plate that he had advertised, and he explained that he was getting rid of it because he had back problems and didn't want to have to deal with the weight of it anymore. And this is exactly what it looked like on the bench. It was laying flat, and I was very happy to see that. This is the other item. I'll get to that in a moment. It weighs a ton. Alright, so many of you will know right away what this is that we're looking at. For those of you who do not realize what this is a cast iron lapping plate. This is the largest one I've ever owned. I've got one close to this size, but not quite. So this is going to be going in my personal collection, and the next size down I have from this is probably only about maybe an inch or inch and a half shorter and less wide. But anyways, cast iron lapping plate, nice handy tool to have in the shop, and for 20 bucks it's a good deal, even if it's not flat enough any longer to be classified as a really good quality plate. It's still, you flip it over and it's a heck of a plate to be banging on stuff on, right? The arbor press, I sold my small one because I figured, well, I'm going to have the big one set up and I'll be able to use that, and then I didn't get around to getting the big one set up. So in the meantime, I've already used this twice since I've brought it home. It's a Central Machinery 03552, which means it's right out of the Harbor Freight catalog, Harbor Freight. And it's in excellent condition with the original plate, but it is Harbor Freight, so this brand new is in the catalog for $69.99. I'm assuming you could probably use one of their handy dandy coupons and probably get it for another like $14, maybe 20% off, which makes that, what, 14 bucks. So that ends up being, about 55 bucks after the coupon. I paid 20 bucks for it. When I am ready to sell it, I will probably sell it for 40 bucks, maybe 30, who knows. This is the item I didn't commit to right away because I couldn't really tell from the photographs much about it, other than it did appear to be an anvil that had been constructed out of a piece of railroad rail. Very common to see people using sections of railroad rail as anvils. Sometimes it's just a hunk of rail and nothing's been done to it. This one has really had a lot of work done to it. Judging from the looks of it, somebody machined the two sides, because this would obviously have that shape to it. They machined the two sides and the top's flat, and then they formed a horn, which makes it really cool. And then they did kind of a neat finish on it here. I don't know how durable that finish is going to be, and I don't really care because it's just kind of a neat anvil. He was asking 40, I think 30 for this, 30 or 40 for this. I don't recall exactly. And when I got there and looked at it, I liked it so much that I basically said, how about 60 for the 3? And he did that. So I ended up getting this for 20 bucks. Then we started to go through his shop where he pulled out everything he could find in his drawers that he felt he was never going to use or were redundancies to his collection of tools and wasn't going to need. And that's how we ended up with this couple of boxes that we're going to do right now. I don't recall exactly what I paid for this stuff, and I know we just kind of like totaled it as we went along and agreed on prices. Some of them I kind of do remember because it's stuck in my head. I do know that in the end, I'm pretty sure that the total tail of the tape ended up being $180, and 50 of that was for, 60 of that was for the 3 items that we just looked at. So the rest of the stuff in these next 2 boxes of smalls is $120 worth of stuff. I know this I got for $5. This is a, it says Bay State Wheels of Progress mounted wheels and points. This looks old as dirt, but what's in here is a whole bunch of, well, that's for cleaning the abrasive belt on a belt sander. But a whole bunch of brand new old stock little grinding stones. Some of these look like they may have been used. Even got some spherical ones. But I mean, heck, for $5, considering how easy it is to break these, that was well worth it to me. Helios, in the past I've mentioned Helios as being a good quality German manufacturer. These particular ones just are marked Helios, made in actually Western Germany, so that would be pre the wall coming down. Hardened throughout. Nice pair of furniture calipers with the case. Oftentimes these will be sold under the Fowler name. So they might just say Fowler on the case, and then on the tool say Helios. It's an interesting little general ultra rule is what this is called. So the idea behind this is that you are able to stick a pencil point in these slots to scribe lines at different angles. I don't know what else you can do with that, and I just thought it was kind of a neat, handy little thing. First we thought these were parallels, but then we both agreed that they weren't when we saw the red paint on the end, and then turns out they are Momax by Cleveland Twist Roll Company high-speed steel blanks, tool blanks, 1/2 inch by 1 inch by 8 inch, 2 brand new ones. Just a parallel single. Just dump this out. Let's see what's in there. The only pair of parallels he had in the whole place. These are unmarked, probably shop made maybe. They are a pair. This is an older, nice brown and sharp protractor. No case. Decent shape though. Here's a Armstrong tool holder with a parting blade mounted in it. This is number 32. R for right hand. Right hand tool means that this is designed to start on the left and move towards the right. Pair of plain old calipers, no name on it. This I explained, he didn't know what this was, and I explained to him that this was, unfortunately, this was a Starrett number 246 planer gauge that's missing all of the parts. And he assured me that we'll probably never ever see the parts for it. So this is a planer gauge missing all of the parts and has a broken vial. I don't see any fluid left in that. So what good is this? This now becomes a precision right triangle. highly polished, machined. So, Oh, this is kind of cool. What's in this is ta-ta, a nice big knife edge. No manufacturer that I could see on it but it sure does look like a factory made one, and it is still in excellent shape. Here's a Brown and Sharp depth gauge, and the thing that's interesting about this is that many of these had interchangeable blades, so you could take this blade out and put a longer blade in. And as luck would have it, my most recent pick from this very past weekend, which I will probably not get to for a bit, what do I end up picking up from a guy? He had the Brown and Sharp case for this with the 12-inch blade in there and nothing else. 12-inch blade's got some rust on it, but it was loaded with drill bits and some other little tchotchkes, and he wanted $10 for it with the contents. So I told him, I said, hey, would you take $5 for the case with just the blade and you can keep the drill bits? And he said, sure. So that's going to be great. I'll be able to put that in a case with the 12-inch blade and make a nice little set. Honestly, I don't remember if he even knew what this was, and I also do not. Clearly it can mount to something, clamp onto something, so I don't know. You guys ever seen one of these? Know what it might be? This mystery tool is no longer a mystery. I don't know what made me think of it, but I kept thinking this just seems so familiar to me, and now I know what it is. See the little V grooves in there, almost like dovetail. This is a sharpening jig for chisels. If we pretend that this is the sharpening stone, and let's pretend this is my chisel blade. Clamp it in the tool like so. Of course this isn't cooperating because it's not the right shape. So imagine that's my chisel now mounted in there. And when we go along, just push along the stone, it will sharpen it. So obviously the amount that this sticks out is going to change the angle of attack, but you get the gist of it. But that's what that is. Here's a combination head for an old square, no blade to be found, and the vial on this is also broken. Another 1, 2, 3 triangle. I'm sorry, I meant 3, 4, 5 triangle. These are interesting. These appear to be possibly joiner blades. And at first I thought that they were high-speed steel stock for parting blades, but then I looked at the profile and realized, no, these are cutting edges and they're razor sharp. The name on them is Diston, D-I-S-T-O-N. I only found 2. I would have expected to find a third one if they were for a joiner, but then again, maybe for some small joiners, maybe they only had 2 blades. We've got another Armstrong tool, another right-hand tool. Oh, I'm sorry, I had that up. Well, that's interesting. This tool bit is in, this cutter is in upside down. This is a right-hand tool, and somebody wanted to use it as a left-hand tool, so they just flipped it over like this and stuck the cutter in upside down. Huh, that's funny. That's hilarious, Steve. And one of the only indicators that I got out of the whole lot, this nice little tenths indicator made by Alina. I had one of these a while back that I sent out to be repaired because it was broken, and unfortunately I got it back with a note explaining to me that it could not be repaired because the parts weren't available. So that's the bad thing about Alina. The good thing about Alina is a predecessor of Compact. Matter of fact, this one is marked with Compact right on the side, C-O-M-P-A-C, and this is a Swiss-made Geneva, made in Switzerland, fully jeweled.
How do you know what percent is that?
Fully jeweled indicator, and then it's kind of like a last word where you get a lever that you have to flip on the side to change direction, but it's got an interesting little sub-dial on it, so I always thought these were neat. He also had this V-block set sitting there. It kind of interests me. I'm kind of a sucker for V-blocks. I've got too many as it is. But this is a nice large set. it's got what appears to be hardened removable jaws mounted on it, and they appear to be a pair. You know, they match up well, and they're actually stamped set number 2 on both of them. So I think it's interesting that these are set number 2, making me think that there were other sizes. I'm wondering whether or not these were used maybe in like a press brake or something like that type of situation. But they're pretty hefty, and I got these for $10 for the pair, which I thought was a steal. Ironically, there's a price on here of $5 PR, telling me that somebody had these for sale somewhere and was asking for $5 for the pair, and I think he said his uncle got these from somewhere and he had them, and he never ended up using them. Too big for anything he would do. So he also had a whole box with quite a few sets of number and letter stamps, you know, the old ones, and I've got so many of those now that I really didn't even want to bother with them. I never seem to get around to shipping them. They're kind of heavy, and for whatever reason I've got a backlog of them. But I did spot this one set in there, and I couldn't resist. For $20. This is by far the largest stamp size set I've ever come across. It's even got the ampersand. So it's got, of course, the 0. The O doubles as a 0 in the set. So it's a full letter set with digits 1 through 9, and then of course the 0 doubles as the O, as I mentioned, and then you also have the ampersand, so, or the and sign, right? So I have no idea who makes these, and I don't really care. I'm gonna keep them for myself in case I ever want to stamp really big initials in something. Starting to feel the same way about some of the small vices that I have. I'm starting to get a lot of these. You know, gotta start weeding these out. But this one caught my eye. It's marked Japan, so it's an import, earlier import by the looks of it. What I thought was kind of neat. Well, first off, let's take a look what we got going here. Somebody just countersunk a piece of plate steel and bolted this to it, giving them these big flanges so that they could use toe clamps to clamp this down anywhere they wanted. They even went as far as to note that this is the left side and this is the right side. I don't know why they felt they needed to do that. But what else is interesting to me is a further modification they apparently did, I think. Unless this is factory and I've just never seen one like this. It has a built-in stop. So, yeah, kind of funky. We've got this plate that was added on the end, unless that's factory. And we have this cap plate. And we've got this part right here that can slide in and out when this is loosened. So you unlock it here, this slides in and out, and you've got a built-in stop. But the stop is only good for materials that are clamped between this auxiliary jaw that was added and this jaw. So I don't know what to make of that one. And this says 3-inch vice jaw spacer on it. So if I take, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know. So I thought it was kind of neat. Like I said, I probably only gave 10 or 15 bucks for it. Another vice that I tend to have a few of these now, and I just picked up a couple more, just like at the last pick, last flea market pick, are Pana vices. So they're all different styles. This one was up on a shelf. There were 2 of them. One of them was used, and then right next to it, same exact model, brand new in the box. So that's a brand new Pana vice, I should say. And for those of you who don't know much about these vices, these are very popular with electronics technicians for electronics work. Undo this one screw here, and this becomes a pivoting and tilting all in one lock. and then the regular vise with soft jaws for holding small components as you're working on them. And then they make a version of this that has longer arms on it, which I've got a couple of, that opens up and has jaws specifically ideal for holding PC boards when you're working on printed circuit boards. And this is the last of the stuff. Says he went through some other drawers and stuff and found some stuff. This is a scale, obviously. What I thought was cool about this was that it's so wide and it's nice and heavy. The unfortunate thing about this is that this was originally a 6-foot scale. And of course the dead giveaway is that, on this side it goes from 1 to almost 12. The 2 gets cut off because they decided to chop this right on the line. But on the other side it starts at what would have been 60 and goes up to 71, so that would be 72 right there. 6 feet. I'll tell you what, this has all of the earmarks of being a Starrett, so this may have started life as a 72-inch Starrett scale, which would have been really nice to have. Here's a made in USA drill point gauge with a built-in protractor. It's probably a General. This is a BP Johnson Rule Company, Rule Manufacturing Company of Chicago, Illinois, number 60 combination square protractor. I think I said BP Johnson. It's EP Johnson. Not that it makes much difference. Only worth about $10. Here's a pouch for a Rockwell hardness sample, hardness standard. So they call these test blocks. These are used to set in calibration on your Rockwell hardness tester. But we didn't find any. Oh no, we did. There it is. And I don't think it's ever been used. Oh no, it has been. See the little tiny peck marks in it? That would indicate that it was used. Starrett inside calipers. Osborne and Company outside calipers. These are some interesting Starrett. It's got a scriber. The edge on it like that, that's adjustable. So that's a little bit different. There's a Starrett number 49 contraption. I don't even remember what they call these. Starrett Toolmakers caliper. 0 to 1 mic. 230. Tenths. Unusual little shape to these. Manufacturer unknown. See, they've got this little area that sticks out over here. Makes them kind of interesting looking. Starrett scales, Starrett hook rule. So this is a set of Osborne calipers. CL Osborne, I think, or something, or I'm sorry. It's O.S. Osborne of Harrison, New York, or New Jersey. Yeah. This is a Lufkin, a little bevel square, little pocket one, number 66. Or is it 60? 66. This is a Starrett 160 toolmaker's clamp, often mistakenly identified as a vise, but this is in fact a toolmaker's clamp. These, when you buy them new, they would come with 2 jaws that are interchangeable. This jaw actually pops off of here, and you can put a small straight jaw. A completely unmarked tiny square. Not the smallest square I've ever had, but it's pretty small. This looks like a 1-inch standard Starrett. Micrometer standard. Here's a little Starrett radius gauge, 279. Oh yeah, this this wire gauge that I was showing before, it says Birmingham Standard on it, which I don't know who the manufacturer of this gauge is, but Birmingham Standard is apparently a standard that was devised for measuring wall thickness of pipe and other tubes, I think. So, interesting. And a lowly little Starrett pin vise. And that, oh, I got one other thing. So then after I bought all this stuff and I was walking out the door, as I was walking out, I happened to spot this box, and I looked in it, and there was a bunch of stuff that looked like, you know, a bunch of old iron things, and I saw two hardy hole stakes, which are, well, let me show you. So the square hole that you would see on the top of a lot of anvils is called a hardy hole, and it's made for tools of all different types to be able to be inserted into for working on for working metal. So I figured that the other parts in the box that I couldn't identify were just because I wasn't a blacksmith. So I said, are these available? And he said, yeah. He says, didn't get a chance to put those up for sale yet. He was getting ready to put these online. So these never made it onto Craigslist. And so I cut a deal and bought the whole box, which I think I got the whole box for like $30. And that consisted of these two. This one's marked with a 32 on one side. This one is marked with a 33. But the mystery items, well, that's another story. So originally I had no idea what these were. So I had posted photos of these on the Facebook page for anvil collectors and vice collectors. And figuring, you know, anvils, right? Blacksmith tools. Well, a few of the guys actually commented and guessed that these were old cobbler's tools for leatherworking, for making shoes, maybe women's shoes because of the small pointy areas here. And I ended up doing a little research and finding out that those tools that are used to do that kind of work are called lasts, cobbler's lasts or shoemaker's lasts. And you know, perusing a lot of photographs, I was not able to find anything that looked anything like this. However, when I started to dig down deep for tools that are used in hardy holes, I ended up finding some references to staking tools, tools called fullers, and tools called fullers and, drawing a blank, swages. Okay? But then I saw a description that explained that there are top fullers and bottom fullers, and top swages and bottom swages. And I think the bottom ones are made like this and made to go in a hardy hole, where the top ones are made like this and are designed to either be held by hand during use or to be clamped in a vise. And then I even found a photograph of something called a cow's tongue something, and it looked like a thing like this. So I think that's what these are. There is some sort of a logo. Of course, I don't know if that's upside down. These two look like they might be identical, and they're both marked with a number 11. And this big guy is marked with a number 9, I guess. And then there was one other in the box. This funky thing. It's got 3 legs. And this one is marked with a number 16. Same logo as these other ones. Alright, so that's gonna be it for this particular pick. I hope you guys enjoyed this pick, and if you did, if so, please hit the like button. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Take care.